Harvey Levin here.
I'm Elex Michaelson filling in for Charles.
We have a lot to talk about today. We're going to get into the ridiculousness of what just happened with the Menendez brothers today. But before we do, there is a ton of activity in the Wendy Williams case. We are talking about the NYPD paying Wendy a visit to do a welfare check to see why she's stuck on the 5th floor of the residential facility, the memory unit, where she can't get out. Adult Protective Services is making phone calls to find out about Wendy's cognitive functions. And check this video out. Wendy did leave the memory unit just a few minutes ago. And you see the NYPD there as well, which went to figure out why she's in there, why she's in this guardianship. They're looking at that. But Wendy is on her way to the hospital to get an evaluation of her cognitive functions to see if she's well enough that the conservatorship, the guardianship, makes sense.
And when some people hear Wendy's being taken to the hospital, they might think that that's some sort of emergency. This is actually good for Wendy.
Right.
This means that this could help her case in terms of getting out. And I know you've been in contact, right?
Oh, I talk to her all the time.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I got a call from the NYPD this morning.
What'd they say to you?
Well, they were in her room, and Wendy had mentioned the documentary that we did, Saving Wendy, on Tubi, and also that I had been talking to her, and they started asking me, what's her cognitive function like? What do you know about it? And I know this sounds totally shameless, but I did tell them to watch the documentary. Well, because it's relevant. I mean, the documentary is relevant because she goes through this whole thing. I wasn't doing it.
Promoting.
I was not doing it for clicks.
My strategy.
I mean, I wasn't doing it for clicks.
It's a shameless plug, but it's a good one, Harvey. This is for a good cause, and this is a huge development because now that the New York agencies are involved, the NYPD, the Adult Protective Services, it could really bend in her favor. Now, the evaluation is everything, right? If this goes well for Wendy, I think the wheels are really set in motion for her to get out of this guardianship. If it goes poorly, though, this could backfire.
What's Wendy's headspace right now?
She's a combination of hopeful because all of this stuff is happening. Plus, Joe Tacopina is somebody she's in touch with, huge criminal defense lawyer, but just a great trial lawyer who I think is going to ultimately end up taking her case.
Yeah, and he did Donald Trump. He did
A$AP
Rocky.
So, look, I mean, she's hopeful in that respect. She's also really scared. I mean, it is really interesting. She's so fearful of retaliation by the guardianship. Now, whether that's based in fact or not, she's afraid things are going to get even more restrictive because they're getting aggressive now trying to get her out of this thing. And I will say, look, they have diagnosed Wendy before this with something called frontotemporal dementia. That is a condition that Bruce Willis has. It does not get better, ever. Look at the Lifetime documentary, and this was shot more than a year ago, a year and a half ago, where you see Wendy sprawled out, drunk, see vodka bottles all around. And you look at her then where she couldn't put a sentence together, and look at her now. Look at the documentary and watch her. And I have spent hours on the phone with her, as have Charlamagne, Rosanna Scotto from Good Day New York, her niece Alex, her caregiver Gina. Everybody has the same opinion. She's back to who she was. It doesn't make sense this is frontotemporal dementia because she's gotten better.
Yeah, well, but could the Guardian say part of the reason she's gotten better is because we've kept her clean and sober, and so maybe this is working?
But it's not about clean and sober. See, you're right.
Yeah.
That if it's alcohol-induced dementia, that gets better. And when it gets better, you don't have a guardianship. You get a sober coach.
Right.
But you don't lock somebody in a room and tell them they can't have internet, they can't have visitors, they can't have people call them. You don't do that. You don't want people to be in a guardianship when they function fine. And if she's functioning fine because she's sober, would you put every
sober person.
Yeah,
every alcoholic.
That's right.
Right.
No, you would never do that. So why do it with her? I mean, that's the argument.
It's a great point, Harvey. And even if the diagnosis is the same, just having a condition isn't grounds for extreme remedy of a guardianship. People live with frontotemporal dementia. So even if that stays the same, you still have to evaluate, can she take care of herself in some capacity? Can a sober coach help? There are other remedies short of locking her in a facility without a smartphone, without the ability to take incoming calls and treat it in this manner. So I really do think this deserves a close look, and I think she'll get out.
So they are going full bore here with the NYPD, with Adult Protective Services, possibly with a jury trial, which is the way this ultimately could end if Joe Tacopina takes the case and the judge still won't let her out of the guardianship. In New York, you can have a jury trial where the jury is going to hear Wendy Williams on the stand, probably at some point doing Hot Topics.
Right, I was going to say.
But it's relevant.
Doing how you doing from the
But it's relevant because if she can do Hot Topics on the stand and she's cognitively with it, which we did in the documentary.
Yeah, and there's no place where Wendy Williams is more popular than New York City. That's her base. So she has a jury of her peers. Many of them presumably are her fans. I
can tell you that based on what I know, Joe Tacopina has said to somebody, if he ended up taking this case, they would get a quicker verdict here than in ASAP. And that was an hour. And that was an hour.
Shanice, Houston, Texas. I think it's awesome that Wendy has the withal to be able to contact APS, get her situation heard and understood, and get that case rolling. Having been a social worker and working with people in the same kind of similar situation, I think that it shows that she is competent. She's able to, advocate for herself, and it also will aid in her being, the lawyer being able to, advocate for her in that aspect as well, and it's to hopefully get this guardianship ended because she's clearly competent. She understands what's going on. She understands the severity of her situation, and hopefully the totality of the situation will not only just, continue to get her to, advocate for herself, but also to be able to take the next precautionary steps to, just continue to help her with her health. I think this is an awesome thing. We miss Wendy in Hot Topics. We love her. We miss her. So we want her to come back. And I think that all this will be very good for her in the end. And I think everything will rule in her favor.
Yeah, it feels like movement in all directions all of a sudden.
And I know you talked about it self-promotionally, but you deserve some credit for this too.
No.
Because I think, but honestly, I'm not an employee here. Without what you guys are doing, I don't think this is as big of a thing. And congratulations for using your platform for something good here.
I mean, again, it feels like such an injustice to lock this woman up the way they did. And by the way, just one more thing. The Guardian did an interview last week where she said, well, I don't know where they're getting all this talk about Wendy not being able to go out. She went to Florida twice. We let her go to Florida twice. Well, that's true. But according to Wendy, when she went down to see her dad, the judge rejected it the first time. The only reason, the judge changed her mind after the documentary dropped and everybody saw her. But yeah, she's been to Florida for her dad's birthday for 2 days and her son's graduation. Aside from that, she's locked in this room. She has to get permission to even go downstairs to the gym, much less outside. She gets no fresh air. So the idea of saying, oh, well, I don't know where everybody's getting it. We're getting it from Wendy.
Right.
We're getting it because she doesn't get out.
Based on the evidence.
It's crazy.
All right, let's do something a little bit more fun. Timothee Chalamet.
Okay.
He may have lost the Oscar, but continues to be winning at life. He was spotted over the weekend at the BNP Paribas Open in Indian Wells, the big tennis tournament there. You see his girlfriend there, Kylie Jenner.
Good. You and I have
Kendall Jenner there.
You and I have a different take on this.
What you think? You think that he's not that interested in what she's doing, and he's kind of annoyed, and he's trying to watch tennis, and she's all over him. Yes, that's your
exactly.
And why are you rubbing my stomach when I'm trying to watch a tennis?
That's exactly my take.
It's also the way she has her cell phone. She's trying to take too many selfies. She's just doing a little too much for the event. This is not his vibe. You can totally tell. It's honestly cringe. When I watched the video and I saw how disinterested in her he was at that moment, my lip literally went all types of sideways, crooked, because this is just a little bit embarrassing for you to have this boyfriend for going on years now, and for him to look like this. Oh my God! Ooh, girl, yeah.
You want to take your take back now?
He is. He's a good actor, so you think that he'd be able to act a little more.
But the funniest part to me is he's very conscious cameras are on him. Watch what he does with his shirt. When he stands up, he pulls his shirt down, not once but twice, to make sure that it looks presentable for the camera.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Now watch this. Watch this. Once. Now, do it again, Tim, and twice. There you go. Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, there is a crazy development in the Menendez case. This is really crazy. The DA says what they did is unforgivable. They are liars. They've never retracted their lies. They are going to withdraw the petition for resentencing. DA doesn't want them resentenced, doesn't think he should get out of prison. We're going to tell you why what the DA is saying is irrelevant. Welcome back to TMZ Live. The new district attorney in LA County just held a news conference where he said that what the Menendez brothers did is unforgivable by murdering their parents, that he is going to withdraw the motion the prior DA had filed to allow for resentencing, which would trigger a parole board hearing. And he's saying these guys never owned up to what they did in the sense of taking back some of the lies they told to cover their tracks.
He says that they told 20 lies and that they've apologized for 4 of them, but there's still 16 lies that they haven't, that they don't deserve resentencing until they come clean and basically own up to the extent of their crimes. He also says that the idea that this was self-defense is preposterous, given the fact that they did so many things leading up to it, that they were clearly thinking about killing them, and then they did so many things afterwards to try to cover up the fact that they killed him and that they didn't put forward a real argument for self-defense at the time.
Well, and also Hochman, the DA, Nathan Hochman, said that, look, the jury didn't buy self-defense because they unanimously said murder. What he didn't say is that in the first trial, the jury was split. Half of them felt it was a manslaughter case because of something called imperfect self-defense, which is the instruction the judge gave the jury.
Yeah.
So half of them didn't think
mostly
it was
the women,
murder.
right?
The half.
Yeah.
The second trial, that same judge decides not to give the imperfect self-defense instruction. And at that point, the jury had nowhere to go, so they did say murder. But he didn't mention that. But look, there is a lot to unpack here. Maybe the biggest thing, which is this whole resentencing thing, is irrelevant anyway. So let's bring in the Menendez Brothers lawyer and my co-host of the Two Angry Men podcast, Mark Garrigus. Mark, welcome back to TMZ Live.
Wait a second. Charles has really taken a downturn. It was a bad weekend.
A downturn? I think this is an upgrade.
I agree. Definitely a downturn. We miss Charles.
I like Alec, but this is quite something. You know?
Okay, look. Let's get into it. Tell me.
I'm laughing, but I got to tell you, I'm only laughing because that was so ridiculous. It was so over the top. It was really one of the, I mean, it was really beneath him as a new district attorney. I would tell you one thing. Has anybody else put together the fact that, I think I said last time when I heard him about his response to the habeas that the 90s were calling, they want their DA's office back. What I thought this time, my immediate reaction is, where was it that a LA County DA lost a high-profile trial against a celebrity black defendant, and then 8 days later or 10 days later came out and started hammering the Menendez brothers? Let me see, when was that? Oh, it was Gil Garcetti.
Well, and it was interesting that Hochman basically laid out what would be like a closing argument from the 90s as if he was prosecuting the case himself back then.
Alex, this is why I love you. I was watching it and I said, this is great. Apparently, Pam Bozanich, who was the prosecutor in the first trial, gave you her closing argument. There's only one problem. Not one, but 2 juries heard everything. not one, but 2 juries heard all of the cross-examination over weeks of that trial about your litany of lies that you talked about. Jurors heard all of that. All of that was cross-examined on. I don't know what he's talking about because both juries rejected 50% of them rejected the murder. So what are you relitigating? Whose rights are you vindicating? And by the way, he kind of also stepped on, I think, one of the more important things here, which is he mentioned that Milton Anderson is no longer alive. He passed away last week. I will tell you, they didn't know that until I told them. Number one, Milton Anderson is no longer alive.
He's the family member that says they should stay in prison.
Kitty's brother.
The one.
Yes, the one. And by the way, no, it's yes, and Joan's little brother. And Joan, by the way, is the one who talked about, and I hate talking about the deceased this way, but she talked about Milton being an abuser himself. But more importantly, there isn't a single living family member or victim who endorses Hochman's position today, number one. Number two, there isn't a single living family member or victim who was notified of what he was going to do today, which is a violation of Marcy's law. And he has completely misread the resentencing statute. So for a guy that supposedly did all the hard work, it's astonishing to me that he wants to litigate a crime that 2 juries already rejected his theory on, that only once they took off the table imperfect self-defense. He keeps talking about self-defense. That wasn't ever given to any jury at any time, pre or post. It was imperfect self-defense. So I ought to at least bone up on the law instead of memorizing Pam Bozanich's closing.
Well, there was imperfect self-defense in the first trial, and half the jury said manslaughter.
Correct, because guess what? Guess what? They owned up to everything. They had tremendous insight back then.
What do you say to him saying, well, they're not embracing and owning up to all the lies?
They were cross-examined for weeks, and owned up to all the lies. Read the trial transcripts. I don't know what he's talking about. I mean, he keeps saying we have the record. No, everything he talked about was pre-trial. I don't even understand what he's talking about. By the way, resentencing, this isn't a habeas. Resentencing is focused on what have they done since? What are they doing now? The only reason he keeps bringing up Sirhan is he can't find any other basis upon which to make his kind of crazy decision, which he didn't even bother to tell the family about. Didn't even tell. I'm sitting here. I haven't even been served with his motion yet. I mean, it's just wild what is happening with this. The DA's office is in the 90s. Maybe they're using the post office from the 90s.
So Harvey claims that this whole process is irrelevant, that it's really all about the governor. Can you give us some insight on where you're at with Governor Newsom and his team? What's happening behind the scenes?
But before you do, the reason I say it's irrelevant is the resentencing hearing, the only thing that would happen if the judge resentences them to life in prison and takes away without the possibility of parole is that it would go to the parole board. And then the parole board would send it to the governor. But it's at the parole board already because of the governor, so the resentencing is just irrelevant.
With the exception of, I have said back when they first filed this, I wanted a voluntary manslaughter and time served. So.
But that's different than resentencing. That's changing the verdict.
That is, and that's resentencing. The judge has the ability to recall and change the verdict.
But that's not what Gascon was asking for, and that's not what was withdrawn.
Gascon did not ask for that, but once it's recalled,
I get it. But it's irrelevant now, Mark, right?
Well, you know what's irrelevant was that press conference. That was what's irrelevant. I mean, you want to talk about irrelevance? And by the way, is this Hochman setting up a run for governor? He sure was taking aim at the governor. I don't understand what he was doing here. I mean, it sure seems as if he was testing out he failed in his last statewide run when he ran as a Republican for attorney general and lost in a landslide to Rob Bonta. Then he he changed and became an independent when he ran for DA. You have to wonder, is this guy testing out is this a test run for governor?
Are you liking the tea leaves you're getting so far from Governor Newsom?
Did you read the article in the LA Times this morning?
Yeah, he's asking for reform. It sounds like he's aligned with this. Okay, Mark, really appreciate the time.
And we know of all of Harvey's co-hosts, Charles, myself, everybody, you're his favorite.
He's never co-hosted. What are you talking?
By the way,
he's co-host of the podcast.
Oh, right.
I don't co-host, but he did just send me a text in which he told me he loves me. So
no, that was a typo. That was a typo. Stop it.
Yeah, you got to check out Two Angry Men. I'll do the promo for you. A great podcast available now on all streaming platforms. Harvey Levin and Mark Garagos co-host that. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, we're going to take a break.
Blake Lively. Now there's potentially a new controversy. There's this much ado about
I can't
nothing.
handle a new controversy.
Yeah, so what's going on with Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick? We get into it next. There's a new Blake Lively movie and, of course, new controversy. So she was in a movie a few years ago called A Simple Favor. They've come up with a very creative name for a sequel called Another Simple Favor.
That is clever.
It just debuted at South by Southwest. The film includes Anna Kendrick, who you see there, and Blake Lively. And so both of them were asked about working with each other.
Oh, no.
Both of them answered this question differently. Take a look.
Blake, what does it mean to be back with Anna?
Oh, it's the best. I'm so happy. Like, okay, so this way.
Anna, what does it mean to be working with Blake again?
Oh,
my God. Come on.
What was that?
Oh, you know.
Oh, you know?
Well, look, she's also in the middle of doing three different things, right?
Well,
she's talking to people.
That question is a loaded question when you're asked that.
There's been a lot of smoke here, you guys, because just a couple weeks ago, Anna was on stage and she was presenting an award, and she really harped on how directors really please everybody. People thought that she was like coming out as like a Justin Baldoni supporter, but also during the press that they've been doing for this new movie out South by Southwest, there was another time that a red carpet reporter asked her, like, what do you think of the narrative that's been surrounding the movie? Obviously talking about the drama with Justin and Blake that's kind of been in the background. And she goes, I don't know what you're talking about, but go see the movie. And so people thought she was brushing that off as well, like she won't talk about Blake at all. So there's been a ton of like smoke around Blake and Anna maybe not liking each other, but the director of the movie is trying to kind of shut down the rumors because he responded to a post talking about the drama, and he said, you're wrong, but fans still aren't buying it.
Although, my question is, does it help the movie if they didn't get along? Because everybody's going to then dissect it and watch it and say, oh, I can see in that scene, she's pissed it. You know, it's like, did it help? It ends with us, that people heard about the feud and everybody kind of wanted to see it.
But at some point, does it beg the question of, do you want to hire Blake Lively to work on your movie if all of this drama surrounds her?
I mean, it doesn't look good for her, like, in her career, right? Like, with all the Justin Blake stuff, like, both of them kind of are... Like, it's hard to, like, want to work with them now because you feel like they're unlikable, they're a little radioactive. So definitely for her, it's, you know, it's tough because she looks like the mean girl now.
Yeah. I still am not so sure that I would not have known what It Ends With Us was except for the feud. And honestly, I haven't seen it yet, but I would be more inclined to see it because of the feud than if it was just another movie out. So I don't know.
Yeah, but long term, what does it do for them?
Not great.
Yeah,
not great.
Probably for either one.
Yeah.
Ashley, Sierra Vista, Arizona. I think that Anna is just playing it safe. She has to because her reputation is on the line. So she's going to keep it as simple as possible, whether she sides with Blake or she doesn't. She's going to play her cards right.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because this is going to unfold more. Because when it's unresolved like this, I think people are still going to talk, and eventually Anna's going to say something, I think.
Yeah, well, this is just the beginning. This is the premiere at South by Southwest. Presumably, there'll be a whole other campaign for this movie and more time for more reporters to ask her more questions.
This is just crazy. Okay, let's take a break.
When we come back, an NYPD detective who is moonlighting in music videos and the controversy when the cops start to pass this thing around.
It gives new meaning to moonlighting.
Yeah. We want to introduce you to an NYPD detective named Melissa Mercado, and that's what she looks like in uniform, and this is what she looks like out of uniform. She was performing in a music video for a rapper named Esquire, and you see her there. Well, I guess you can't really see her there based off of the blurring we did, but you wouldn't see her in basically a thong, twerking, and all the rest of it. She never identified herself as an NYPD investigator to the people on the music video. She's not wearing NYPD.
They would have liked it even more.
Yeah, it's not like she's wearing NYPD uniform. She's not really wearing much of anything, but that wasn't the bit. But then the question is, when they found out about this happening, is this becoming of an NYPD detective? They've actually pulled her off of her day job investigating sex crimes as they look into the backstory of this music video.
What are they looking into is the question. It's like there's nothing illegal about doing it. So what exactly are they looking into? I'm confused.
I don't think it's about being illegal or legal. You know, it's just public perception. You know, this video, it's on World Star Hip Hop. It essentially hit 1 million views, and then people started to pick up the fact that she was a detective. So, you know, they're just doing some investigation, making sure it's not a stain on the department. You know, there's a lot of praise for her performance, though.
This will be interesting because, look, she's got to know that there would be repercussions. So I wonder if she's kind of testing the waters here, maybe even to take this to civil service and say, hey, you can't bench me for doing something that's illegal like this. I mean, there are all sorts of stars who do movies all the time on the side. And yeah, this is a little more risque, but it's not illegal.
She hasn't done any interviews. She hasn't spoken out. We spoke to Esquire. You know, he said they didn't even know that she was a cop. You know,
yeah, but it's not on them. I mean, if they knew, it would just be more alluring if they knew that. It's more about the NYPD, right? I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
And by all intents and purposes, she seems like she's a good cop. She got good reviews. She has a master's degree with a 3.9 GPA. So if she's good at the job, maybe, you know, who cares?
I like your stand there. I like your stand on this. I mean, it's sort of like, I mean, why are we pearl clutching with something like this? You know, it's... You know,
and it's also New York. It's not like some red state in the middle of the country.
Well, at the same time, is anyone going to take her serious if they arrest her and recognize her from the video? You know, they might that might start another harassment case in that instance.
Well, they take her seriously when she cuffs them. I mean, not for that reason, but for that reason.
Drexen, New York City. I'm over here, okay? And who is ruining and snitching on the best episode of Law & Order I have ever seen in my entire life? I am telling my kids that this was Olivia Benson undercover doing what she needed to do to stop a case, okay? I enjoyed it. I had a good time.
Clearly a lot of people did when it's gotten over 1 million views.
Maybe she's in trouble because she didn't get prior permission to do this. Because I think you do have to get permission to do something outside. So maybe that's it. Because my guess is if she asked for permission, they would have said no.
No. All right, let's talk about Paris Jackson now. She was at the Paris fashion show, and some people were slamming her outfit, and she's responding to those trolls with this video.
I don't really understand why the human body is a driving force for such discomfort in so many people. Like, it's just a body. It's just a body on a human, which is an animal. We look at other naked animals all the time. We're just animals. Don't get uncomfortable with our bodies. Like, it's your body. You've got one. I've got one. We've all got one. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it.
I think this is the most unresolved issue in culture, nudity. And it's funny because it kind of goes to the prior story.
Those two things go together, yeah.
And so she showed her breasts, and And it's true. I mean, like, she's in Europe right now. Europe has a totally different view of this than we do. And I just find this fascinating, the way she put it, which is one view of this, which is why are people so, upset and outraged at the human body?
You made a good point when you said she was in Europe. Like, she's in Paris. This is very normal there. Like, Brooks Nader was walking around in a sheer bodysuit a week ago, I think, in Paris. And I don't think anyone even blinks at that there.
I mean, topless beaches in California, in the United States, it's like a big deal. Can you have a topless beach? There's some place outside of San Diego where I don't know if they still do, but they had one and it caused all this tumult. And it's like, in Europe, that's just the way it is.
Meanwhile, we've got Jason Isaacs with full frontal nudity on White Lotus last night.
Boy, was it right there in your face. That was kind of shocking.
Yeah,
boy,
so
was that
Mike White is single-handedly pushing the envelope on the male nudity thing.
Holy smokes. Yeah. Okay, we're going to move on to Kanye West, but not the Nazi version. We're going to talk about Joe Rogan and Kanye West.
Not the Nazi version.
Well, So Kanye said that Joe Rogan has invited him to come on his podcast. He said,
I love the look of it. The natural and simple look of the studio is very future. I would love to sit down and speak with you, but honestly, I'm a bit uncomfortable with your latest tweets. Is there a way that we can clear the air on some of this when we sit down?
Well, that's supposedly what Joe said to Kanye. Thing is, Joe's saying he didn't write that. And he said, I don't know who wrote that, but it ain't me.
So Kanye West was carrying on an entire conversation with somebody that he thought was Joe Rogan, but is actually not Joe Rogan. Kanye has since taken down the message. So, yeah, I mean, look, Kanye has been on Joe Rogan's podcast in 2020. They sat down for nearly 3 hours. I really don't believe that, given everything that's happened with Kanye West and the anti-Semitism, the Hitler praising, I do not think that Joe Rogan would put him on his show.
I agree with you. I
don't think anybody should.
I don't either.
It's not time to give Kanye West an open microphone and platform when all he's putting out is just terrible, terrible hate. And I'm all about free speech, but there is crossing the line, and clearly this guy needs help. He doesn't need a microphone at this point.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is either rooted in mental illness, racism, or a little bit of both. But that combination, I don't know. It's just...
I don't want to see it.
I don't either. Okay, we are going to take a break. When we come back, Kim Zolciak actually breaks down, crying on Kristen Cavallari's podcast as they talk about her divorce, her parenting, and his criticism of it. Welcome back to TMZ Live. So, Kim Zolciak has been kind of mum, other than talking to the police, about her ex-husband, Kroy Biermann. And really hasn't offered a whole lot about the circumstances surrounding their divorce. It all changed over the weekend in Atlanta when Kim jumped on Kristen Cavallari's podcast, which is being filmed for a TV special. And boy, she dissolved into tears.
Yeah, they were on stage for about 20 minutes, we're told, from people that were there. A lot of video hasn't surfaced because people were told to put their cameras away, but we had someone inside and they gave us all the details. So Kim was basically really opening up. She was talking about allegations that she's made before to police, such as, Kroy, she accusing him of taking items from the house when they were still living together, accusing Kroy of secretly filming her inside the house, specifically having cameras set up in the bathroom. She also kind of came for Kroy on the financial aspect, saying that he has all this money stashed away in his 401k that he refuses to use. But she did break down at one point during the interview, we're told, when Kristen asked her about, being a mom and parenting the kids that they share together. That's when she got a little emotional, saying that she feels like she is a good parent to their children.
Well, but wasn't the intimation that Kroy had criticized her for it?
Correct, yeah, exactly.
I never heard that. Did Kroy ever speak out about that?
Not that I know of, but I mean, we haven't really heard from Kroy. As you guys know, we've seen months of body camera footage where Kim is very open to the police about, the issues going on in their marriage. Kroy, we don't ever really hear from. He's kind of been quiet during this whole divorce.
Well, except to the police.
Yeah, but this idea of being secretly recorded in the bathroom and constantly being watched everywhere you go in the house is terrifying. If that's really true.
Nastiest divorce we've ever covered at TMZ.
Wow. That's saying something.
Hi, my name is Lena. I'm from Miami, Florida, and I'm actually really excited that Kim is finally free. I can't imagine being recorded by somebody who's gambling away your money and also secretly spying on you. I would also be going crazy. So I'm actually really excited to see where she goes from here.
Yeah, hopefully up.
Brand new era.
Okay, every weekend we put polls up on the website. We want to find out what you think about things that we posted over the past week. We did it this weekend. Here are the results.
Diddy arguing he's being prosecuted because he's black. Is that true? Is it ridiculous?
I'm interested in this one.
What say you? 95% say it's ridiculous.
Wow.
Okay. So
okay, next.
Went over.
More important to me, Ukraine or the price of eggs?
Let me say 90 plus with the price of eggs. What do you think?
I hope not. I hope not.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
77,000 votes. That's a big number.
Go back to that. That is such a statement.
Wow.
That is such a... Because I kind of thought what you thought. That's amazing. That's amazing.
You have a very diverse audience.
Okay, next.
Whose side are you on? Stephen A. Smith or LeBron? This is them battling over, his comments about fatherhood.
Stephen.
I think Stephen A. Smith gets it. 42% with LeBron James.
R. Kelly singing on a podcast. I like it. You can separate the man from his music or despicable.
Despicable. Yeah, most people at this point not into R. Kelly.
Yet, when he got indicted, he started charting again.
Yeah.
Okay, last one.
He does have some good songs. Ben Affleck and Jen Garner, they'll get back together. Never, ever, ever. I mean, with Ben's track record, you think
it's never, ever, ever.
What do we think? 69%, a great number there on never, ever, ever.
Okay, we are going to take a break. When we come back, you're never too old. Bill Belichick celebrating an anniversary with his 24-year-old girlfriend.
How does he show his love? We find out.
Yeah.
When I think of Bill Belichick, I think romantic.
I kind of do too now. I mean, he's got game. He was on an airplane about 4 years ago when he made his move.
Yeah, on this 24-year-old girlfriend.
And it worked.
Jordan. And they celebrated an anniversary over the weekend. And look at this. Happy anniversary written out.
That cake
candle.
Looks delicious.
Yeah. And they're spending time at North Carolina, where he's now the new head coach of the football team.
So the cake says better late than never. What I'm trying to figure out, does that mean that the anniversary was 2 months ago and they celebrated belatedly, or that Bill is saying, I'm 75.
He found love late in life.
Yeah.
Better late than never.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, this is wild for, I've never seen Bill Belichick smile like this. It's been Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl.
Good point.
And he never smiled like this before. So shout out to Jordan. I mean, I'm going to be real with y'all. I didn't think they were going to last this long. So for them to make it to their 1 year anniversary, kudos to them. And he's bringing her with her to North Carolina. They're eating cake and all this stuff. I love it.
Shannon, give us the lowdown. Are they getting hitched?
I think so. I wouldn't be shocked if he proposed to her when he gets to North Carolina. When they finally get there and start the football season, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, they're living together, right?
Yes. They're living together, being happy. Like I said, she looks great. He looks great. I haven't seen him this happy or smiling like this since, honestly, forever. I haven't even seen him doing the Super Bowl with Tom Brady. So.
Yeah. I mean, he's smiling bigger than spending time with Tom Brady. That really must be something.
Not a shock.
Hi, this is Adrian from DC. I want to say everyone loves to clown on Bill because he's a little grumpy, but this right here shows you that you should not lose hope in dating because your soulmate truly may not be born yet. I love this for them. It's like when you get a second puppy for your older dog and they totally breathe life into them. 10 out of 10, I totally support this.
Your soulmate may not be born yet. That is the line of the day.
Well,
Thank you for that.
That and comparing the relationship to getting a young dog with an older dog. I don't know about that. What else you guys want to talk about?
Working for them.
Hi, I'm Ava calling from Phoenix, and I'm talking about the Menendez Brothers. I think the district attorney referring to them as lies may be a sign that he has an agenda. The case is going to end up in the hands of the parole board and ultimately in the hands of the governor. So I don't really think his opinion has that much sway. In the years since the trial, public sentiment seems to be on their side, and they have the support of most of their family.
Well, listen, it's divided. The public is divided. But I don't know. I keep going back to this. It's all irrelevant. What he did today is just irrelevant because the parole board already has the case. And that's the best that would have happened anyway in resentencing.
And we know there are plenty of politicians who have agendas, too.
You think?
Yeah.
One more.
This is Donnie ATB Plumley from Chicago. I'm talking about the Wendy Williams situation. I feel like, they're treating her like she's in jail. But I feel like if she have good days, give her that freedom, let her out and have some good days. And if she's having bad days, okay, we understand that. So I'm glad that they're finally getting her tested so, they can see if she's, better than, usual and give her some freedom.
Yeah.
Bottom line, you think she gets out?
I do. I think I'm not sure which way it's going to happen because the judge and the guardian could just go to court and say, look, let her out, which they did like with Brittany, or it'll end up in a jury trial. But I think if there's a jury trial, she's out. I think this jury is going to say she's out of this thing. We're going to take a break. When we come back, date night at SNL. Meryl Streep and Martin Short showed up again. Remember, they were there at the 50th anniversary show, and they just showed up to watch. When you show up to watch a show on a Saturday night, it's a date.
Well, they of course, play lovers in Only Murders in the Building, and their teams say that they're just friends. But they're friends that seem to be spending a lot of time together in intimate situations. We've never seen any PDA or anything like that. Maybe they're just hanging out.
No, or maybe the definition of friends is, we're friends. It's like, I just think this really makes me feel old. Because I just go back and think when they were both so young and, she got married and he got married and now look at them. I mean, the two of them are together.
If they are, in fact, a couple, wouldn't everybody celebrate that? I mean, they are two of the most popular and beloved figures in all of Hollywood.
Although they understand showbiz and drama. So you keep the crowd guessing, I think is what they're doing. But I think they're together. Okay, thank you for doing this. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
We will see you tomorrow as well.